Alright guys, I thought I'd do a thoughts of the week because I haven't done one for ages, so it's probably thoughts of probably a couple of months now. But the first thing would be around the Ukrainian war. What's my thoughts on it? Um, to be fair, my biggest sort of interest on it is actually hearing people's thoughts because they're so all over the place. I think this is one of the problems with information, because the information today is so distorted. You can sway it for whatever you want, opinion wise. So I've been hearing some of the stuff people come out with, and I'm just like, do you actually hear what you're saying? You want to record yourself, because some of this stuff is just very unusual. Is NATO good or bad, and is Russia good or bad? I think you've got to understand that it comes from different perspectives. Because if you're Russian, I get it. They see it as NATO expansion, and at the same time, the Russian side has been in conflict at the edge of Ukraine for some time. So it wasn't just a case of it just happened. There've been ongoing issues there anyway. But can Russia afford to run it out? I think it would still survive. It's one of those nations that just accepts suffering. It will just keep going because it can. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be so straight and cut, and I do think the next 12 months will be interesting, because it all depends where the West goes. Is it going to invest heavily in more armaments and assisting Ukraine to push Russia back? See, the West is very good at arming. The key to it is not losing people. And the current conflict, you can arm it and not have to worry about your people, because you're not actually engaging, and you're actually going, oh, we can't, or start a world war. From that perspective, it's probably a beneficial war in the West, for the West actually, because they can sit on the sidelines as such, which reduces the risk to Western lives, which politically makes it easier to engage in conflict. So my personal view on it, we'll have to see how it pans out. But I've got friends who are Russian, I've got friends who are Ukrainian. I think my personal view is Russia has invaded another country, which puts them on the back foot in that sense. But also, like I said, also get it from their anti-NATO piece. But I don't think they would have been accepted into NATO anyway. I think it would just be kept on the sidelines. It's because it would have been left there for political reasons. The same political reasons we're now dealing with a war with. So we'll see. The other thing is, this week, obviously Boris is getting a bit of a bashing because of the election stuff. I've got to admit myself, it's not a case I've lost faith in Boris. I never had any in the first place, but I've lost interest. If somebody lies to you every time you speak to you want to hear them less and less, and that's where I'm at. I just don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want to hear the stuff he comes out with. I know he lies. I don't want him to talk to me. I just don't want to hear it. People going, oh, we'll get another election, but to replace him with what? This is where he has a advantage, in the sense of what you're going to replace him with, and that's the bit he's sitting in power on. Because I wouldn't want the job, let's be honest. It's not a good job to have. Ridiculed on a daily basis, abused. Yeah, you can make an absolute fortune if you're as thick-skinned as Boris. But ultimately, it's not a job I would want, that's for sure. So what's his replacements? I mean, I can't see Labour doing very well. I mean, the rail strikes now are sort of highlighting the fact of the disconnect between what was seen as a working person's party to the Blair sort of bit where it's wishy-washy, hide in the middle, try and suit all parties and all people to get an election, so you don't win any election because you don't actually have any sort of real direction. And Labour's been stuck there ever since Blair left. So it's a bit of a dilemma on that. Like I said, stuck with Boris at the minute. So interesting. The wellbeing stuff is an interesting thing because I'm seeing a lot of it. Through the media and seeing a lot of it on the corporate stuff. What's interesting is the difference between companies, because some companies actually are understanding it, and other companies do it because we have a policy for that. So I'll send you an email on a Wednesday, and that's my job done. Because I think a lot of this is tied with the Great Resignation as well. Because when you look at the bigger picture, you've got to wonder why people were leaving and for what reasons. Why are they leaving a business? And then obviously there's been an increase in the number of people going off with stress, an increase in people resigning jobs, getting a better perspective on life. The amount of vacancies in low paid jobs and low paid and often unskilled jobs, because I think people have actually sort of woken up to the fact there is other options out there, and I think it's all tied together. But in the same way, I do look at the way society sort of built itself up, because when I go to Asia, I was thinking about this yesterday, because you see a lot of like street vendors where they'll just have like a cart and just cooking, like like the hot dog carts and stuff you used to get that you don't really see anymore. They were small businesses, and I think the chain stores and the obsession with making money on rents and things that are non-productive have sort of taken away a lot of these tiny little businesses which can actually keep people in work, often give you variety, often contribute to society, are wiped off the map. At the same time, it gets somebody out of bed in the morning. It gives somebody self-worth. It gives them something to do. Gets them to meet people, because obviously they get out, go and do some work, and they're contributing to society. And we seem to have moved away from that. And I do hear people say, well, it's businesses should be allowed to grow and all this sort of stuff. It's not that that's the issue. The issue is we're removing things that make these sort of businesses able to function. You look at how many areas have got markets these days, because markets have vanished. Society's gone in a strange way, because it wants people to pay people to stay at home. Definitely UK, because it doesn't have enough jobs for the population. Certainly not enough jobs that people want. So instead, it's often easier to pay for people to stay at home. It's bizarre. I mean, I think I'm a strong believer in everyone can contribute to society in some way. I don't believe everyone should have the same standard of living, because it just doesn't make sense for me. It should be the output should be relative. If somebody's selling hot dogs, should they be earning the same as somebody who owns a chain of 100 restaurants? No, because somebody got from A to B. But at the same time, the lifestyles and everything are completely different as well. And I often find those people, often with the more simplistic jobs, have a better life. Because this is what the other thing that sort of feeds into not enough women in big companies. It's because it's a sexist environment. No, it's because a lot of the guys are like me, in the sense of you're dedicated to work a lot of time, a lot more hours than the hot dog seller would be. But at the same time, I'm doing that to a point, because I'm getting out of it, at a certain point. But you find a hot dog seller has more time for the family, has more time for the doing stuff like going down the pub and football and doing social stuff, where people like myself often have more money, but the offset of that is we lose time. So that's where you sort of get the balance out, because I'm sort of working to a point where I can take the foot off the throttle, and I'm nearly there. It's the house renovations are nearly finished. Once that's done and dusted, my cost of living just goes like that. And that's ultimately the long-term goal, is to actually be able to just work from home in Spain, even if it's part-time. Ultimately, I say even if it is, it's like that should be the goal. Because the problem I get is I can't sit still. I've always got to be doing something. But that's the goal, to get to a point where you can just do work, pay the bills, generate some income, etc. At the same time, have a lot more family time, have a lot more time for doing activities myself, photography, fishing, taking the kids scuba diving, enjoying life. I've worked hard enough. I mean, to be fair, we do have a lot of positive stuff up there from the stuff we've done over the years. But I would appreciate being able to do it more. Yeah, so I think one of the key things that sort of come out of this whole COVID crisis is learning to actually value life. And I think that's the biggest cause of the big resignation, because you see some of the snotty stuff in the media. It's like, wow, people are coming back now, blah, blah, blah. I don't think they're coming back in the same volume, and I don't think people are coming back in the same way, and they certainly ain't coming back with the same mindset, because they've been outside the box now. I had the same experience when I was out in the Philippines. When you come back, your thoughts are still with the stuff you've done. You experience the lifestyle, where it's a lot more relaxed, a lot more friendly, a lot more about just enjoying time with people. Money is on the back burner, but you come to a Western society, it's often the main goal or the only goal, with everything else tagging along behind. So, but yeah, that's my thoughts this week. I will start doing more videos. The other thing is, what have I been up to? Yeah, well, I've started going to the gym a lot more. I've got to admit, I've dropped 10 kilos, and I'm looking at losing another 8. First 10 was easy. The 8's not getting so easy. So yeah, it's very hard to get the last bits off. But I'm studying more as well. I've started reading a lot more. The house, the next 6 months, I think that'll be my big focus, just to get that finished, and then hitting the mortgage. I've already did a chunk payment on the mortgage as well. I want to get that to a point where that's paid off for the next 2-3 years. Because once I hit that, life gets a lot easier. and a lot more interesting, because I can do more. But yeah, that's about it for me. I just thought I'd do a quick update since I ain't done one for ages. If any topics you want me to talk about, please put them down in the comments and I'll have a look at them. Cheers.